Marissa had been following her usual jogging route when she unexpectedly discovered that she was not alone. A wild black bear had appeared on the side of the trail, its gaze fixed on her. Perceiving her unease, the creature cautiously lowered itself to the ground. Despite her fear, Marissa felt an inexplicable urge to trail behind the bear as it moved away from the path, periodically glancing back at her. Little did she anticipate the unexpected turn her decision to follow the bear would take. The bear didn't seem angry or scary, and it didn't try to hurt her. For some reason, her fear went away, and she felt like the bear needed her help. She had never been this close to a bear before, but she knew bears could be dangerous and people should stay far away from them. She whispered to the bear, "You're not mean, right?" as it walked away, looking back at her sometimes. Other people saw what was happening and shouted, "Run! Get away from that animal." But Marissa decided to keep following the bear. She went into the bushes next to the path, and there was no one else around, just her and the bear. The bear kept walking into the forest, and Marissa followed, being careful not to trip over tree roots. She wondered, where is the bear taking me? She decided to share her location with her boyfriend Derek, so she quickly texted him, sharing location just in case. "I'll explain later," and put her phone back in her pocket. She made sure to put it on silent, thinking that if someone texted or called her, the noise might scare the bear, and she did not want that to happen. The whole time, the bear kept looking back to check whether Marissa was still following it. As they walked deeper into the forest, Marissa noticed that it was getting late. Finally, the bear slowed down a bit and started sniffing around. "What is it? What are you looking for?" Marissa asked. The bear growled suddenly, and Marissa was terrified. She deeply regretted her decision. What was I even thinking? Marissa noticed that the bear was looking at something behind a thick tree, just out of her sight. She slowly took a few steps towards the tree, and when she was finally able to see what was behind it, she gasped. The bear had led her to a campsite. There was a tent, and whoever had stayed there had made a campfire the night before. The ashes were still a bit warm. However, there was nobody inside the tent, and it had been left open. It seemed like the camper had left in a hurry, and Marissa couldn't help but look inside. Who was staying here, and why had they left in such a rush? Something odd was going on here, and she wanted to know what exactly. While every instinct told her to head back, the bear's movements held her back. Upon further examination, Marissa noticed peculiar things. Inside, amidst the clothes and maps, she found a small locket with a picture of a family and a camera with a half-filled memory card among the scattered belongings. Marissa's fingers brushed against the soft, worn leather of a diary. Pulling it out, she dusted off the pine needles and leaves, revealing an embossed bear on the cover. The first pages were filled with neat handwriting, detailing the traveler's excitement about his journey into the forest. He wrote his awe at the myriad of sounds echoing in the night, wondering about the creatures that made them. One passage read, "Their majesty is unparalleled, especially the black bears." The traveler's admiration for the bears took a more focused turn. "I've heard tales of a rare white fur bear cub in this region," he penned. His desire was clear. He wished to document this cub, believing it could be the centerpiece of a groundbreaking documentary. Marissa's heart raced as she began to grasp the extent of the traveler's plans. Dread filled Marissa as she continued. The traveler's obsession had turned dark. "This cub is mine by death's destiny. If it won't come to me willingly, I have measures to ensure it does." There were sketches of cages and details about bait. Every word, every hastily drawn map became a potential clue. Thinking, Marissa felt the weight of the decision pressing on her. Should she rush to the nearest ranger station, potentially wasting precious time, or should she use the clues at her disposal and venture forth herself? She considered the bear outside, its insistent behavior, its silent plea. It was all almost as if it trusted her to do the right thing. Perhaps the mother bear had watched the traveler, sensed his intentions, and had desperately sought an ally in Marissa. She would do whatever it took to reunite the mother with her cub. Each whimper and echo tugged at her heart, fueling her with an urgency she hadn't felt before. She began moving in the direction of the sound. With every step, the cries seemed to grow both clearer and more distressed. Suddenly, Marissa stumbled upon a trap. It was empty but freshly set, the metal gleaming ominously. For a moment, her heart sank, fearing the worst. Nearby, she found a camera discarded in haste. The lens had captured images of the forest, but no bear. Not allowing despair to set in, Marissa turned her attention back to the distant cries. The connection between the woman and the bear grew stronger, bound by their shared determination. As Marissa and the bear pushed further into the forest, they came upon a clearing where several large cages stood. More concerning was a smaller cage lying on its side, its door broken open. Tufts of bear fur were caught on its jagged edges, and nearby, a tranquilizer dart lay discarded in the dirt. Without hesitation, Marissa turned on her heels, heading back to the campsite. Every minute counted now, and the pressing weight of the cub's fate pushed her forward. If there were more cages or snares, those cutters could be the key to freeing the trapped animals, including the bear cub. Reaching the campsite, Marissa dove into the tent. She rummaged through the scattered belongings, her hands sifting through maps, clothes, and equipment. Her fingers brushed against cold metal, and she pulled out a set of wire cutters. The feeling of relief was short-lived, however, as a rustling sound outside caught her attention. Emerging from the tent, Marissa's eyes darted around, trying to identify the source of the sound. The surrounding shadows seemed to play tricks on her. But then, from the edge of the clearing, a pair of eyes glinted back at her. Someone had been watching, waiting, and Marissa knew she was no longer alone in her mission. As she readied herself, muffled voices became distinguishable just beyond the clearing. 2, maybe 3 people were discussing something, their words blending with the forest's ambient sounds. "I told you she'd come back here," one voice hissed. Marissa's heart rate quickened. They were talking about her. She crouched low, using the tent as cover. Peering out, she caught glimpses of moving shadows as one of the figures approached her hiding spot. Marissa held her breath, praying she was well concealed. But then, the shadow paused, its head turning directly towards her. Their eyes locked. It was the traveler from the diary, his face grizzled, an expression of frustration. Behind him, 2 others emerged, holding nets and gear, looking for something. He taunted, eyes fixated on Marissa. She clutched the knife tighter. The standoff between her and the traveler was palpable, each second stretching on endlessly. In a split-second decision, Marissa lunged to the side, using the element of surprise to her advantage. The traveler moved to intercept, but the adult bear, sensing the danger, let out a deep roar, causing a momentary distraction. Seizing the chance, Marissa dashed into the woods, knife in hand, hoping to use the dense underbrush to elude her pursuers. The chase was on. Marissa came to an open space and saw something very sad. A little bear cub with innocent eyes was stuck in a net. It was crying softly and trying to get free, but it was getting weaker. When Marissa saw the cub and the net, she understood what was happening. The big bear, the cub's mom, had been acting the way she did to protect her baby. They were not just regular animals, they were a family fighting to survive. Marissa took a deep breath and approached the trapped cub very carefully. The big bear was watching her closely, showing how worried she was. Marissa spoke softly to the cub while trying to free it from the net. She wanted to find the parts of the net that were not strong and could be opened. After some effort, Marissa finally set the cub free. The little bear quickly ran to its mother and snuggled into her thick fur. But they couldn't stay together for long because there were people approaching. Marissa could hear their voices getting louder, and the bushes were rustling. The traveler, and maybe others, were getting closer, and they seemed to have bad intentions. The big bear got between Marissa and the approaching danger, trying to protect both Marissa and her cub. The bear growled loudly, warning anyone who might come too close. Marissa watched from a safe distance, feeling happy and relieved. She saw the strong bond between the mother bear and her cub. The mother bear came to Marissa and gently touched her, as if saying thank you without words. Following the mother bear, Marissa found a path she hadn't noticed before. The trees started to become less dense, and she could hear the familiar sounds of the outside world. When she left the forest, the sunlight seemed brighter and the air felt fresher. As she went back to her own life, Marissa couldn't stop feeling very emotional. This adventure had tested her bravery and taught her many things. She had connected with nature in the wild, and it had changed her in a deep way.